Look at this mess. This is nuts. No matter what I do, I always end up with a mess. Like, it's just always a mess. And it's like, I'm just not one of these neat and organized people. I never have been. I've got a little bit too much ADHD going on. I was like trying to have like a dedicated like CB radio that's like literally just the CB radio on its own antenna, legal. I don't talk on there, but you know what I mean, legal. And I keep hearing about these guys on the CB getting in trouble too, by the way. A friend sent me a link, Steve, if you're watching. Anyway, and the Ham Radio 2.0 guy made a video about the guy getting caught using a Maritron amp and a Striker radio on 11 meters, and it was kind of funny because it's like the guy's response was like, supposedly he told them when they showed up at his door that he wasn't going to stop transmitting, and then he posts on like Facebook or Instagram or something like that about this and asking people, what do I do? Well, if you have the FCC and the police at your door, you might want to stop transmitting. You might want to tell them what they want to hear, at least. You know, I mean, come on. I mean, like, you know, say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know, it wasn't me, or, you know, I mean, first of all, don't say you're not going to stop transmitting, because now you're admitting fault. But anyway. So, but we have all this stuff here, and it's like, it really, I want all my stuff to be usable, you know, accessible, you know. Let's see if I could zoom out here. I had built this shelf in here because there was like some really terrible shelf a long time ago, and I kind of like modified it, and I had to like take it apart. So some of it's actually still down there on the bottom. You can see it's kind of funky, but I had bought this piece of blemished red oak plywood, supposedly red oak, and cut it in half and put it on the top here, so it's like 4 feet across. But like, for me to really roll out all my radio stuff, like I would need to like go in the shop here in this back half here and just run a table all the way across, and then I might be able to accomplish it. And I think that actually would be pretty cool. I seen a guy had in Washington. He had his entire, you know, like a 20 by 20 like this. This is a single car garage, where he had just, you know, a table here, and then a table here, and then I believe the door was like over here. So he actually had both sides with just long tables, and he had like, you know, his vintage Collins stuff over here, you know, his other stuff over here, and it made sense. It was like, it looked pretty good. So, you know, what I've been trying to do is just get rid of like the clutter and the stuff that I don't really need, and like focus on the stuff of value. But like with all the radios and stuff, you can't really operate them when they're like crammed in like this. So either get rid of a lot of them or put them away, store them or something, and just have a minimal workspace. This was supposed to just be a workbench, and somehow it got screwed around. But I also am kind of bummed out with this radio that I can't just hook it to this monitor. And I have a cable coming to do that today, but it's a straight through cable. And so from what I understand by my conversation with Yaesu, is that HDMI will send like a TV, like this is a smart TV, this is 40 inch. It will send commands back and forth down the HDMI in the form of different voltage levels. And that's what damages the video output card on the radio. So if you have like a galvanically isolated converter box, probably the thing that Yaesu is recommending, I've seen it, it's a box. It's not a cable, it's a box. And then like it has multiple outputs on the box, you know, and then it's all like, or multiple inputs or something like that. So I think it has a DBI, a VGA, and a composite RGB, and then it will like convert that to like HDMI. Because all we want is to convert our output of the radio and then send it to whatever device we want. But also you would need something with the proper upscaling or downscaling, you know. So that's another thing. So if that device isolates the connection to the TV, then we'll never have to worry about voltage coming back down the HDMI going into the radio. Now, my friend that lives a little ways away, I don't know exactly what he's running, but I think it's just a 10-inch monitor. It's just an HDMI monitor, and he's using a straight-through cable. And he hasn't had any problems, but then again, you got to remember, that's a monitor. It's not your 40-inch smart TV or your 55-inch TV or whatever that, its only job is to monitor. These devices have a receiver in them, and so if you're watching broadcast, they will send the audio through the HDMI to whatever, you'll have the ARC connection. I don't remember what it's called, but so the HDMI is capable of sending stuff back to the radio, and we don't want that. So, for me, I just spent $1,000 on a radio, and it's not much nowadays, but like I'm poor. I don't even have a job. So, like, you think I want to blow up my $1,000 radio to run this when I can just run this and know that nothing bad will happen? So that's where I'm at on that. Oh, we got some really good reports last night. We did pull out the hand mic and make some adjustments and stuff, and we shifted the radio up much higher in frequencies for the audio response. And the guy kept saying that I sounded excellent. So we'll see. I don't know that this radio can compete with the audio of the ICOM 7300 or 7610, but I've heard enough of them where they sound good enough, and the features on it are really good. And I'm not really concerned about sounding amazing. It is nice when you talk to people and they compliment you on your audio, but certain radios are just really hard to make, sound amazing. They will just sound okay. One of the radios I had that I really liked, that I never enjoyed how it sounded when I listened to it on something else or somebody played it back to me, was the Kenwood TS570 SG. It was very narrow. It was like a 2.4 wide, and you couldn't shift the frequencies to where it was, nice. So anyway, I have the power supply down here. I've got a 2-meter antenna coming in here. Somewhere else over here is a 440. And I really, it's just, everything's just a mess. I want to get everything more organized. This is not hooked up. This is not hooked up. And technically doesn't need to be down here, but this storage space under the bench is really kind of not any good for any radio you might operate. I've got this here. I shouldn't have stuff on top of it. I got this UPS that actually hooks to everything, so if the power went out while I was on the radio, I'd still be able to talk, but not for long. This here, actually, I'll probably upgrade it. I'll get like one of these type of batteries again. I'll get the $40 one. They bumped up the damn price on the battery as soon as I did a review on it too. But anyway, so you get 2 lithium irons in here, and it should, since they have their own BMSs, I'll just get like the 10 amp hour battery, put it in there, and that should be good. But I just like having this because it's separate from everything else. It's actually a UPS, so if the voltage sags, it's supposed to accommodate that. I really like this radio here, and I don't plan on doing anything with it. It does have something wrong with it. The port on the back quit working for the FT8. It's like something's wrong. It's attenuated. The level's really, really low. And then there's another issue with the speaker jack. I can't remember the details of it. But It's something I wouldn't mind getting fixed, but, you know, I probably could easily just bide my time and find a Pro 2. This is a Pro, which I think is a little bit nicer of a radio. Pro 3, I don't really see them come up for sale. But these radios have impeccable audio, in my opinion. And it's really, when it's paired with the 7300 microphone, like, I don't know of a radio that sounds better than this radio. And it puts out a bit more power. It has a higher peak envelope. It really cranks out about 130 watts if you key it down on FM or CW. And so, like, when you look at this radio and you watch the meter on it, you will see that it is not going up to 100 watts when you're talking on sideband, and even with the processor. And you know, you can sit there and fiddle with it all you want, and unless you scream into the microphone, it's not going to do 100 watts. I don't know what the meter reads on here, and when I'm looking at my output, I'm looking at on this, and this thing is very stingy in RMS. But then sometimes I'll look on here, and I'll see this is a peak meter. When the amp is on, even if I'm not keying it, it's just on, it lights up. Okay, and then this will light up, and then this meter will actually read forward and reflected. So it's actually very nice to have this amp. So, like, here, let's turn this on. I think I've hooked it up. And I think that my monitor should automatically wake up. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so I've disconnected the radio. Where's the coax? I do that usually when we've had some lightning nearby. I don't trust just disconnecting it over here. So, let's see here. I don't know if we're tuned or not. We'll just make sure it's tuned. The tuner on this is kind of slow. This is interference from my solar. Just all this mess over here. It's on, it's not under load, but it's on. Okay, so let's see here. KG7 HVR testing 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1. So this top scale, this is 0.1, and this is forward. If we turn it on reflected, we'll see if we have any reflected. Hello, we've got reflected. But the radio is tuned. What it means is that there's reflected power all the way up until the back of the radio, which is not necessarily a good thing. But I'm also running a loop antenna. This kind of requires a tuner. It'll have certain sweet spots, but it's not going to be like 1-to-1. So anyway, with this amp, I can see whatever I'm doing here. And if you look at this one, hello, hello, hello. Now we're on the radio. We go here and you'll watch and see. Hello. You're not going to get 100 watts out of it, according to its meter. So I don't know what the meter reads. I don't know if it's peak, if it's RMS. It's probably just, you know, RMS. But when we get on a radio like this, and I'll show you here. Okay, so on this radio, we'll just leave it right here. And what I really like about this radio is I like having a meter. Okay. So, we're on SWR. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Here you see here, it's peaking over the 100. And we don't have any reflected. Interesting. But I'm also at a different frequency. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you can see our signal over here, over there. So, hello. We go here and show you what the power looks like on the radio itself. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, hello, hello. I mean, this is like, it just modulates like crazy. Hello. And let's try FM. So, the only thing I like about this radio is it's really good AM. And it actually does about 50 watts on AM. Hello, test 1, 2, 3, 4, and it has forward swing. Hello, 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 hello. So on 3870 and different frequencies, it does well on AM. If you can sit there long enough to do the AMI net. So I honestly really think, like, if you really don't need a fancy new radio, I think this is like an incredible radio, value-wise, if you can get it for a good deal. I ended up buying this one and my 746 Pro at the same time. This knob was glued on because it was snapped off, and so the guy was selling somebody else's stuff that had passed away or got moved into an old folks home. I'm not real sure. He had this. He had an SDR play, Uno, and a MFJ switch, and he just like didn't really know anything about it. I just told him what I knew about it, and I said, look, he had a box of stuff. I said, this stuff's worth this much, this much, and this much. Then he had like a smoke-infested power supply like this. It was just yellowy. These radios were pretty bad, and I ended up getting both of the radios and the SDR play and the SDR switch for $700 from him. And that's pretty good because these radios will go for $700, $800. Every once in a while, you might find one for $400 or $500, but it's pretty rare. So anyway, this radio really does put out a lot more power, and it sounds great. Let me see if I can get it down to our other frequency that we were on over on the other radio. Also, there is no wobble of the VFO. It's nice and solid. The new radio, the VFO is sort of loose and sloppy. It's just because they're using a cheap encoder. Sometimes a little touchy to put it where you want it. Okay, so let's see what we can hear it. Okay, now it's tuning. I have it set to automatically tune. In case something's wrong, the radio will adjust it. I don't think you can do that with these. And also, I don't think the tuner works on receive on these. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a slight latency on the new radio. You can kind of hear it. So the receive has a few milliseconds of delay. And I never noticed that with my 7300. So it sounds terrible right now listening to it. So anyway. So you can hear that is really, really nasty sounding. It's that delay. It gives you, an echo. I don't know if they're just using a cheap-ass processor in this thing that can't keep up. But I don't remember the 7300 doing that. And I know that I've done these same type of tests. So, it's just kind of something that I don't think anybody else has mentioned, that there is latency in the radio on receive. So it's something to keep in mind, I guess. If you want to listen to yourself talk on another radio and this at the same time, it will drive you nuts. So that's a very inaccurate radio to do a monitor test. When we go over here, And we're on 830. Come on. Alright. KG7HVR testing 1 2 3 4. You hear there's absolutely zero latency. Kilo Golf 7 Hotel Victor Romeo testing 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. In fact, the mic might be a little bit hot on this. Kilo Golf 7 Hotel Victor Romeo test 1 2 3 4. Testing the ICOM 756 Pro, receiving on the Yaesu FT102. So, can you hear that's, you know, how close you are on frequency, so. You want it to be like that. And that is called zero beating. Hello, 1 2 3 4. You can hear how the intelligibility improves quite a bit as you get it exactly on frequency. So now we can go over here and we'll hook up this other radio and you guys can listen to that. Oh yeah, sorry, this is going to be a long video. Look at the fingerprints on the radio already. Okay. So, okay. KG7HVR testing 1 2 3 4 on the Yaesu FT710 using the MD100, and I think the processor is set to about 9. I don't remember what else I have set on here, but let's see here. It's I could try the hand mic too. Hold on. So we can hear how that is. Now, when you turn, you don't swap mics with this radio on. That's just a Yaesu thing. Make sure you always turn your radio off before you swap a microphone. I know that somebody's going to say, I do it all the time. Well, I don't know what the reason is, but Yaesu says don't do it. And I had a FTDX 3000 go bad. And every time you'd key it up, the fast and the slow button would go on and off, on and off. And there is a voltage regulator in here. This microphone, by the way, is extremely hard to seat in there. So it will literally require that you use 2 hands, one on the radio, one on this. So I had to set the camera down when I did that. So there's a regulator. It sends voltage in here to control your different functions and buttons and up and down keys. And so there's something about like unplugging this suddenly while it's on, or plugging something in while it's on, that can jolt that regulator and fry it. And it might not be an issue with this one, but it definitely is on the 3000 and some other radios. I have hot swapped the microphones a million times on the 991A, 817, 818. I do not think I did on the 891 because you have to remove the head to get the microphone. So anyway, let's try this. KG7HVR 1 2 3 4 on the Yaesu FT710 using the supplied hand microphone. And our radio has drifted. Hold on. And because the 102 will drift a little bit, we want to make sure that we have it pretty close to where it should be, because it wouldn't be fair to test the audio output on it. If it's off a little bit, it will sound different. We are going to get that zero beating sound in the background. There's nothing I can do about that. That means the radio is picking up the noise from the 102 in the microphone. But honestly, I don't really care for this microphone. I don't think it's just whatever they've used for an element. It's not good. I like it otherwise. I'm a hand mic guy. I don't like desk mics. But it's really hard to beat this thing. So we hear how we're zero beating. So we're not exactly dead on. I cannot do the comparison on this other radio, which would be dead on, because it is very well shielded. So the ICOM is very well shielded, and it won't pick up a lot. Hello, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. I guess it actually does pick it up pretty good. So I gotta back the volume off on the ICOM. It just usually it's not a good radio to use like this close. It picks up like artifacts or something sometimes. Hello, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 KG7H. We are testing on the Yaesu FT710 using the supplied hand microphone with a few changes on the audio, listening on the IC756 Pro. Okay, so that's that. And as we can tell, you know, it doesn't do that zero beating. You might hear a little woo, because you know, you'll be looking at the wave if you were looking at a scope, and you'll see it move. But the 102 is a little bit harder to exactly dial on frequency. You kind of get it where it's like changing between the digit. You know, it's old technology. It's a very stable tube hybrid radio with an excellent receiver, kind of modeled after the 1000. This radio came out before the 1000, and the designer that designed the receiver of the 1000 designed this one. This radio here was considered to be, you know, engineering masterpiece. And I have not been inside of an older 1000D, but I can tell you that this radio is fairly complicated, and I think the 1000D is probably twice as much more complicated. But I love this radio. It works great. It sounds great. It puts out almost 200 watts. And if you just have it set where you want it, you're good to go. You don't want to jump around on the band. That's what this is for. So I'm just kind of doing some more tests on the radio. I have went in here, and I will make another video to share you my audio settings that I have chosen. So stay tuned for that.